I remember the first time something felt off. It was a Tuesday. I don't know why that matters, but it does. Tuesdays are the middle child of the week. No flair, no drama. Just gray skies and coffee gone cold. And on that particular Tuesday, my wife, Emily, came home with a tan. Now, let me back up. We live in Chicago. In February. So unless they started bottling sunshine at Walgreens, something wasn't adding up. She laughed it off when I pointed it out. Oh, I went on one of those infrared saunas with Lindsay. Supposed to help circulation. Infrared saunas give you a tan? She blinked. You're cute when you pretend to understand science. I laughed too, but it caught in my throat like a bad lie. Not because I didn't believe her, but because I wanted to. That's the real trick of betrayal. It doesn't stab. It seeps. One drop at a time until you're drowning in it, wondering when the floor turned into quicksand. We'd been married 7 years. Not a scratch on the surface. At least, none that wouldn't buff out. Emily was the kind of woman people whispered about in restaurants. Elegant, sharp, the one who always knew the waiter's name and tipped like she was famous. I was the quieter half of that picture. The numbers guy. The solid one. Together, we looked like a holiday card no one sent. But lately, she was different. Not distant. That would have been easier. She was present too present. Asking about my day with a brightness that felt forced. Laughing harder than the joke deserved. Touching my arm when she passed me in the kitchen, like she was rehearsing affection. And I, being the reasonable idiot I am, took it as a good sign. Thought maybe the storm had passed. That the late nights and the locked phone weren't red flags. They were just, modern marriage. But something gnawed at me. A small, persistent itch beneath the paint. Like the time she left her email open on the tablet. Nothing scandalous, just an airline had 4 romantic winter getaways that made her smile a little too long. Or the night she came home humming a song I knew she hated. I wasn't suspicious. Not yet. But I was listening harder. Watching closer. Then came the big surprise. She called it a gift. A reset trip, she said. 10 days. Just her. To journal. To meditate. To find clarity. Clarity. I smiled. Nodded. Told her it sounded like exactly what she needed. Even helped her pack. Because I had a plan. And it didn't involve screaming, or begging, or sleeping on the couch like some kicked puppy. No, I had 10 days to prepare. The day she left, it snowed. Not the romantic kind, the kind that pelts your windshield like tiny fists, as if the sky itself is ticked off and wants you to know it. Emily kissed my cheek like she was going to yoga, not flying halfway across the country. She wore sunglasses, even though it was gray outside. Don't wait up, she said with a smirk. I'll text you when I land. She didn't. Now, a younger version of me might have sat by the window, chewing fingernails and refreshing flight trackers. But this version? I made coffee. Real strong. Sat down at the kitchen island. And pulled out a notebook. Not to write poetry. Not to cry into margins. To make a list. Because if she thought she was flying off into a fantasy, I was staying grounded in reality, her reality. The one where surprise vacations have consequences. Step 1. Email access. She always used the same 3 passwords, rotated between our anniversary, her college mascot, and the name of her first dog. Took me 5 tries. Not because it was hard. Because I had to stop shaking. Step 2. Check the itinerary. Found it in her sent folder. Booked under her name, and a second passenger. James Holbrook. I didn't recognize the name, but the confirmation email called it a couple's escape to remember. Well, I'd remember it. James might too, once the bailiff handed him his own little souvenir. Step 3. Lawyer. I called one before lunch. Told her everything, plain and calm. Like I was reading a grocery list with explosives on it. She asked if I wanted to wait until Emily got back to talk it through. I said, no, ma'am. I'm not here to salvage the Titanic. I'm here to count the lifeboats and pull the paperwork. By 3 p.m., I had a divorce packet in my inbox. By 4, I had a meeting scheduled with a custody consultant. See, Emily didn't just leave a marriage. She left a daughter. Maggie, 5 years old. Still learning how to write her name, and not yet old enough to realize her mom was out chasing sunsets with someone else's husband. I looked around the quiet house, at her drawings taped to the fridge, and thought, you don't get to walk away and come back like nothing happened. Step 4. Financials. Our accounts were joint. Her spending was casual, like money grew on compliments. But now, every transaction was a clue. $312 on Cielo Spa Retreat. $87 on matching swimwear from a boutique in Arizona. for $180 on a private photography session. If I had a bingo card for betrayal, we'd already be yelling blackout. By sundown, I had a manila folder 2 inches thick and a heart that beat like a war drum. She wanted 10 days of peace. She gave me 10 days to prepare her reckoning. And I wasn't even halfway done. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't need to. Rage is a better stimulant than coffee ever was. I just sat there in the living room, lights off, folder open, surrounded by the sound of Maggie's tiny snores from down the hall and the occasional ping of my phone syncing screenshots. At 2:17 a.m., I got what I needed. Her tablet was still logged in on the cloud. Emily never turned off sync. It was her digital shoebox, she used to say, just in case I lose my phone or something. Well, she lost something all right. And I found everything. There they were. A gallery of lies. Each photo timestamped, geotagged, and laughing in my face. Beachside cocktails with James Holbrook. A man who looked like a banana republic had got tired of monogamy. Shirtless selfies. Mirror shots of the two of them in robes at the romantic getaway suite. One video stood out. 30 seconds. She's holding the camera, whispering into his ear. He thinks I'm on a healing trip. Poor guy. Still sends me those long texts. So sweet. So boring. Then she giggles. I told him I'm journaling. And I guess I am. I'm just doing it on your chest. I sat there, not blinking, not breathing. Something in me snapped, but not the kind that yells or throws things. No, this was colder, cleaner. I closed the tablet, stood up, walked to the hallway, and opened Maggie's door. She was curled in bed, stuffed bunny under her chin, a nightlight casting stars on the ceiling. I kissed her forehead, just once, and I knew exactly what I was fighting for. This wasn't just betrayal. This was abandonment in a sundress. You want a vacation, Emily? You're about to come home to a legal battlefield dressed like a welcome home party. I sent an email to my lawyer, confirmed infidelity. Sending evidence shortly. Attached 7 photos. 2 videos. 1 hotel invoice with both their names. And then I started writing something else. A little letter. One that would be waiting for her when she landed. It started like this. Dear Emily, welcome home. Your bags should still be packed. You're going to need them. You know what's funny about betrayal? It gives you focus. Suddenly, you're wide awake in a world you've been sleepwalking through. The cracks in the ceiling, the hum of the refrigerator, the smell of the house when it's empty. You notice it all, because it's not yours anymore, not the way it used to be. That morning, I made pancakes. Maggie likes them with chocolate chips and too much syrup, and I didn't want her to feel the shift. The earthquake had started, but she didn't need to see the fault lines yet. Mom still journaling? She asked, swinging her little legs at the table. Yup, I said. She'll have a lot to write about when she gets back. She giggled. I'm going to show her the big tower I made. You'll have plenty to show her, I said. I didn't add in a summons to hand her. After I dropped Maggie off at school, I drove straight to the courthouse. I wasn't there to ask for anything. I was there to file. Divorce. Sole custody. Emergency hearing. My lawyer, Danielle, met me outside with a folder full of firepower. I reviewed the evidence, she said, flipping through printouts. This is good. I'm not aiming for good, I said. I'm aiming for clean, fast, and permanent. We filed everything that morning. Infidelity, abandonment, exposure of a minor to unfit conditions. We threw the whole alphabet at it. You play house with a side piece in another state? Fine. Just don't expect the actual house to be waiting when you return. Back at home, I started packing her things. Not emotionally. Surgically. Everything she owned fit neatly into 4 suitcases and a box labeled Shoes Plus Broken Promises. I left them by the front door, zipped and silent like they'd been expecting this. Then I called the locksmith. I need every lock in this house changed by tomorrow. Lost your keys? No, I said. I'm just done letting thieves walk in like they live here. I also took a trip to the bank. Froze our joint account. Moved my direct deposit. She'd find out eventually, probably at some beachside ATM where the receipt says insufficient funds, and the bartender calls her ma'am instead of babe. While I was at it, I canceled her car lease. The car was in my name. It was the least I could do. If she needed a ride, James could carry her on his protein-powdered back. The piece de resistance? I contacted a bailiff, told him exactly when she was due to land, what time she'd be home, and how I wanted the summons delivered. Right there. On the doorstep. No envelope. No warning. Just the full weight of consequences wrapped in official ink and legal paper. He agreed. Now, Here's the part they don't tell you. Revenge doesn't always feel good. Sometimes, it just feels necessary. Like cleaning a wound. Like closing a door that's been slamming open in the wind for too long. That night, I sat in my living room. The silence was different now. Not lonely. Just honest. No lies clinging to the walls. No second toothbrush in the holder like a joke that stopped being funny. I poured a drink. Not to celebrate. Not to mourn. Just to mark the moment. Emily was 5 days into her 10-day trip. According to her itinerary, they were on day 2 of Desert Wellness Escape. Massages, moonlight yoga, guided intimacy sessions. Meanwhile, I was at home, cross-checking timestamps and interviewing character witnesses. Balance. On day 6, I got a text from her. Emily. Hope you're doing okay. The stars are beautiful here. Can't wait to tell you everything. I stared at it for a while. Then I typed. Me. You won't have to. I already know. I didn't get a reply. Day 7, my lawyer called. The emergency custody hearing is set. Judge reviewed the file personally. Let's just say she didn't like the part where your daughter was introduced to Uncle James a week before the trip. Good, I said. You sure you don't want alimony? No, I said. Let her keep the sand and spa receipts. I'll keep my dignity. Day 8, I cleaned the house. Top to bottom. Not out of guilt. Out of ritual. I wanted the place to feel mine again. No perfume in the closet. No hair ties on the doorknob. Just clean air and clean breaks. Day 9, I bought Maggie a puppy. She named it Rocket. And for the first time in a long time, the house felt alive. Real. Like a future could grow here again. Then came day 10. I watched her flight land on my phone. Tracked it like a hunter. She'd arrive home by 3:15. At 3:10, I took Maggie to the park. Left the front door locked, suitcase and summons waiting like quiet ghosts. At 3:17, I got a text. Emily. Logan, what is this? I didn't answer. She knocked. Rang the bell. Called me twice. Then she went quiet. Somewhere between desert intimacy and legal consequences, it hit her. This wasn't a break. This was a burial. She chose 10 days of fantasy. I chose 10 days of clarity. And now? I had the house. I had the child. She had a folder full of evidence and a signature she never saw coming. Game. Set. Divorce. The bailiff called it one of the cleaner serves he'd done in months. She opened the door. He told me over the phone, smiling like she was expecting balloons. I handed her the envelope, said, "You've been served," and stepped back. She looked down, blinked twice, and her whole body just sank. He chuckled. She tried to slam the door, but the wheel of her suitcase was caught in it. I didn't laugh. I just said, "Thank you," and hung up. Emily always thought surprise was romantic. Birthdays, anniversaries, Tuesdays. She once filled our kitchen with helium balloons because I mentioned in passing that I'd never had a party as a kid. Now, she got a different kind of surprise. One that didn't come with cake. I drove back to the house an hour later. Maggie was asleep in the back seat, the new puppy curled against her like a furry seatbelt. Rocket was already loyal, already home. Something permanent in a life that had felt so temporary. When I pulled into the driveway, Emily's car was gone. But the suitcases were still there, lined up like soldiers on the porch. A neat little row of everything she'd been, packed up by the man she thought would wait. She was gone, but not far. A minute later, my phone rang. Emily. I let it buzz. 3 times. Then answered, calm as a lake before a storm. Logan, she said, voice tight. What the hell is going on? Oh, hey. You're back, I said flatly. What is this? Her voice cracked. You filed for divorce? Yup. You filed while I was gone? Timing's everything, sweetheart. There was silence. Then the sound of her taking a shaky breath. You blindsided me. I nearly laughed. Blindsided. Like I hadn't watched her build a whole secret life behind my back. You went on vacation with your boyfriend, I said. I went to court. We all grieve differently. Logan, I didn't mean for it to happen like this. That part one believe. Another pause. I could hear traffic in the background. Maybe she was driving around trying to figure out where to go. The GPS wouldn't help her now. She wasn't going to find your old life on any map. I thought we could talk about this like adults, she tried again. We can, I said. My lawyer's name is Danielle. You'll find her number in the documents. She talks just fine. Her composure was crumbling. I could hear it. And Maggie, she asked, low and trembling. You're seriously filing for sole custody? She needs stability. Not a mom who disappears for 10 days with a man she barely knows. You don't get to judge me like that. Oh, I do. I cut in. I get to. Because while you were off doing moonlight yoga and whispering sweet nothings into a rental pillow, I was packing lunches, reading bedtime stories, and explaining to our daughter why her mom didn't video call once. Not once. I had no service. You posted Instagram stories from a cliffside spot. Caught. Silence. Then she tried the last arrow in her little quiver, the emotional one. The one she used when she wanted out of trouble but didn't want to admit fault. I was confused, Logan. I didn't plan to fall for someone else. I felt stuck. Trapped. And James, he made me feel it. Like a teenager again, I finished for her. Yeah, I've read all the texts. You went through my phone? Just the cloud. You forgot I set it up for you. Her voice changed then. The sweetness curdled. The tone I remembered from fights that started over something small and ended with slammed doors. You're a bitter, vindictive child, she snapped. No, I said. I'm a man who gave you everything, trust, home, family, and got a curated betrayal in return. You're blowing this up. We could have talked. We did talk, I said sharply. For months. About your late nights. Your solo time. The way you stopped laughing at my jokes but giggled like a schoolgirl when your phone buzzed. You had your chance. And you chose someone else. Now I'm just returning the favor with interest. Another beat. You'll regret this, she whispered. When Maggie starts asking why her mom's not around. When she starts crying at night because I'm not there. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't threaten. I just said the one thing I knew would hit hardest. She already stopped asking. She gasped. I could practically hear the tears start to bubble up. But I didn't hang up. I let her sit in the silence of her own consequences. And then I ended the call. Maggie stirred in the back seat as I got out of the car. Is Mommy back? She mumbled, rubbing her eyes. No, I said, opening the door and scooping her up. But we're okay. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Rocket missed her, she whispered. Rocket's got us, I said. We went inside. The house was warm. Still. Ours. I sat Maggie on the couch, turned on her favorite cartoon, and stared out the front window at those 4 perfect suitcases. Emily might have flown away for her happy ending. But I built mine. One legal form at a time. By the end of the week, Emily had lawyered up. A real estate divorce specialist from downtown. Slick suit, silk tongue, and an ego too big for his own conference table. He sent me a letter. My client is willing to reconcile. She believes the current filing is emotionally driven and not in the child's best interest. I read that line 3 times. Reconcile. Like I had knocked over a vase, not caught her half-naked on a cliffside hammock. I didn't even bother calling Danielle. I printed the letter, scribbled one line in red Sharpie, and scanned it back. My client is willing to move on. Permanently. They fired back the next day. Suddenly, Emily wanted shared custody. She wanted her name back on the mortgage. She wanted weekend visitation, access to family accounts, and a meeting with a co-parenting counselor. She'd gone from cheat mode to damage control like a CEO spinning a PR nightmare. Not because she missed Maggie. Because she missed control. Too late. I sent in the photos, the texts, the receipts. We added hotel dates to the calendar. Overlapping school events. Nights Maggie went without a call. That was when Emily made her move, the last card she had left. She showed up at school pickup. Maggie ran to me like always. But behind her? Emily. Sunglasses. Too much lipstick. Smiling like none of this was real. Logan, she said, fake bright. Just wanted to say hi to my daughter. Maggie froze halfway to me. She didn't run to her. She didn't even wave. Emily reached out, but the teacher stepped between them. Ms. Holbrook, you're not listed for pickup. Emily smiled again. Oh, that's just a miscommunication. I'm her mother. No, I said, stepping forward, calm but cold. You were her mother. Now you're a name on a court document with supervised visitation hours. The teacher stiffened. Emily's face cracked, just a hair. I'm calling the principal, the teacher said quietly. Emily backed away. Her smile wilted. She turned and walked to her car like she was headed back to the spa, except there were no massages waiting this time. Only a courtroom. The first hearing was short. Emily's lawyer tried to paint her as overwhelmed, lonely, and spiritually lost. He talked like she was a yoga retreat away from redemption. My lawyer talked like a scalpel. Your Honor, the mother's actions show a pattern of deception, neglect, and abandonment. Our client isn't removing a parent, he's protecting a child. Emily sat 2 chairs away, arms crossed, lip trembling. She didn't look at me. Not once. When the judge ordered temporary full custody to me, she gasped. So did her lawyer. We'll appeal, he said. Be my guest, Danielle replied, sliding a binder across the table. Just be ready for Exhibit G. It's the video where she says, he still thinks I'm journaling. Checkmate. Outside the courtroom, Emily tried to stop me. Logan, this isn't you, she whispered. You're not this cold. I wasn't, I said. Until I met the version of you who lies for sport. 1 month later, the house was legally mine. She tried to fight it, said she deserved equity. Danielle dug up bank transfers, home improvements I paid for solo, even a voicemail from Emily herself thanking me for handling the boring stuff like taxes and maintenance. The judge saw through her faster than I ever did. She walked out with her purse, her lawyer, and one polite nod. You win, she muttered. No, I said. I earned. She didn't answer. Because deep down, she knew. This wasn't just revenge. This was consequence. You'd think James would stay out of it, right? Ride off into the Arizona sunset? Never look back? Wrong. One evening, I was taking out the trash when a black SUV rolled up. Windows down. That same smug face behind the wheel. Arms toned. Teeth bleached. Voice like a cologne commercial. Logan, he said, all casual charm. Mind talking for a sec? I laughed. You don't get to ask favors on my curb. He got out anyway. Look, man, things got a little messy. But Emily, she's been through a lot. Yeah, I said, stepping closer. So has my daughter. He raised his hands. I'm just saying, maybe we all went a little too far. I looked him in the eye. You slept with another man's wife. That's not a mistake. That's a demolition. And now you're standing in the wreckage asking for grace. He sighed. I didn't know she was married at first. Don't lie to the guy you cheated against, I said, stepping even closer. You're not the victim. You're the trash she took out and forgot to bring back in. He left. No words. No eye contact. Just peeled off into the night like a ghost that knew it had overstayed its haunting. Emily showed up one last time. No lawyers. No James. Just her. She knocked softly. Maggie was asleep. I opened the door. She looked tired. Thin. Worn down like a lie that's been told too many times. I came to say goodbye, she said. To what? I asked. The life you left? Or the one you thought you'd get back? She shook her head. To everything. I'm moving. New job. New city. I signed the papers. You'll get them tomorrow. I didn't say anything. She glanced past me at the hallway. Tell Maggie I love her? No, I said. You can write her a letter. And maybe, one day, she'll read it. She swallowed. You always were too good for me. No, I said. I was just good to you. And you mistook that for weakness. She turned, walked down the steps, got into her car, drove off. No tears. No final plea. Just gone. I closed the door, locked it, turned off the porch light, and smiled. Not because it was over, but because I had survived it. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't screaming or fighting or burning it all down. It's rebuilding. Without her. And better than she ever imagined.